Hello, my name is YGO Mango, and welcome to the first in hopefully a series of videos, where I'll be talking about archetypes and their playstyles and not really their playstyles, I'll just be going through all the cards, all the good ones anyway. So yeah, this series was heavily influenced by, Ranked in YGO, and he calls it Archive, and, I'm not a copycat, so I'm gonna call it Archetype Assessment.
I'm special!
Alright, I don't really have an intro. So yeah, I guess we're gonna get right into it. I also have a new mic, which is my phone now, and I've noticed that it sounds a lot better than my laptop mic, doesn't it? Yeah, it does. Alright, so let's get right into it. So first we're gonna start off with the main deck. Not normal monsters, but like the normal monsters. So first we have Fluffal Dog, and its ability reads: when this card is normal or special summoned from the hand, you can add one Edge Imp Sabers or one Fluffal monster from your deck to the hand, except Fluffal Dog. You can only use the effect of Fluffal Dog once per turn. In most situations, he's probably your best normal summon. He searches any Fluffal and an Edge Imp. Annoying thing about him and Toy Vendor as well, and I think a couple of other cards, is that you can only search Edge Imp Sabers, so you can't search things like Edge Imp Scythe, which will give you interruptions, and you can't search things like Chain that have a really good floating effect. Chain? Yeah, Chain. Okay, so next we have Fluffal Leo. I already I wrote a script, and during the end I realized how long this was going to take, so I cut out some of the redundant cards, but I'm still going to read this one. When this card, its ability reads: when this card declares an attack, it gains 500 attack points until the end of the battle phase. But yeah, keep in mind this is a deck from the anime, and it just has a lot of random cards that boost the attack, and you normal summon it and all gains attack. Especially cards like Fluffle Bear. I always thought that card was absolutely broken, but it's really bad. I didn't even bother. I didn't feature it in this video. But yeah, it doesn't really do anything to further your combos. I really just don't see it have any use. I think it only has 1200 attack, so it can go up to 1700. But then again, Fluffle Dog has 1700 attack, so oh, not just a little bit redundant, a lot redundant. But yeah, don't run it. So next we have Fluffle Penguin. During your main phase, you can special summon one Fluffle monster from your hand, except Fluffle Penguin. This effect can only be used once while this card is face up on the field. If this card is sent to the graveyard as a fusion material for a fusion summon, as a for a frightfur fusion summon, you can draw 2 cards, then discard 1 card. You can only use this effect of Fluffle Penguin once per turn. So yeah. This is it's really powerful. It has a really good normal summon. When it's normal summoned, it can special summon another Fluffle from your hand. So you can normal summon it, summon something like Dog, get that effect, and then now you have enough for a Link 2, like Cross Sheep, or you can make Verte Anaconda. It's very powerful. And then there's also the second effect, where if it's sent to the grave, you get to draw 2 and discard 1. This is an incredibly powerful effect for basically any deck. And Fluffles also have quite a lot of cards with floating effects, and they also do want to keep quite a few cards actually in the grave. Well, not keep, but put a few cards in the grave, especially Wings. Wings is a very good example for that. But yeah. Next we have one of the newer monsters, which I believe is from Eternity Code, and it's called Fluffal Dolphin. So you can target one toy vendor in your graveyard, set it, and if you do, send one. Okay. Send one Fluffal monster from or Edge Imp Sabers from your deck to the graveyard. If this card is sent to the graveyard as a fusion material for a fusion summon, you can shuffle into the deck one of your fusion spells or polymerization spells that is banished or in your graveyard. You can only use each effect of Fluffal Dolphin once per turn. So its first effect is very good. So there is a little combo with toy vendor and fluffle wings. This works very well because you get to set the toy vendor, and it's a continuous spell, so you can just activate it later. Setting is a pretty frequent thing in this archetype. Not well with toy vendor, which means like they can't ash it. Because it sets. It doesn't activate from the deck. It sets it, which it was cool. Um, and you have the choice to mill wings from your deck, and then so wings has an ability where you can banish itself, and you can pop the toy vendor. You get like +3 in card advantage. I'll explain it later when I get to fluffle wings. But yeah, so and another really good part is if you summon Penguin, which is a water monster, and it's level 4, and so is Dolphin, you can use Penguin to special summon Dolphin, and you have 2 level 4s that are both water. Now you can make Bahamut Shark, and you can use Bahamut Shark to make Totally Awesome, and you've just gotten an extra negate, and 2k beaters, which is very powerful in my opinion. I'd say you'd probably want to run it at 2. Oh yeah, and as for Penguin, you would like to run it at 3. Next we have Fluffle Bear. You can send this card from your hand to the graveyard, set 1 toy vendor directly from your deck to your spell and trap zone. You can contribute this card, then target 1 polarization in your graveyard, add it to your hand. You can only use you can only use 1 Fluffle Bear effect once per turn, and effect per turn, and only once that turn. So, you can't tribute it to get a poly, and then also discard it to set a vendor in the same turn. I'm not too sure why that's there. You only really use the first effect where you discard it to set toy vendor from the deck anyway. So I mean that's not really too annoying. You can run 2 or 3 at your own discretion. But don't go lower than 2. It's still a very good card. So next we have Fluffalow. When this card is normal special summon from the hand, which is very annoying, you can add 1 polarization from your deck to your hand. You can pay 500 life points, fusion summon 1 frightfur fusion monster from your extra deck, using monsters from your hand or field as fusion materials. You can only use 1 Fluffle Owl effect, and only once that turn. So, yeah, no, it has the same thing as Bear, where you can either choose to search a poly, or pay 500 to fusion summon. It's also very annoying that it must be special summon from the hand to search the poly, because you can't use things like, Cross Sheep to add it back, which, doesn't come up too often, but when it does, it's really annoying. But yeah, no, this is also a very tricky card, because usually you will have poly, but, sometimes you just get really unlucky, and then you don't, and you just really need the poly from the owl. It's really... I don't know. It's a weird card where it's not good, but it's not entirely useless. So you still want to play it, but like there are just some other cards like Cat that kind of do the job better. It's a weird one. I'd play it at 1, but you can probably get away with it at none, and you can probably play 0 if you want. So yeah, next we have Fluffle Angel. Alright, so this is a pendulum monster. And its pendulum effect reads, you can target 1 Fluffle or Edge Imp monster from your in your graveyard, special summon it. Also, you cannot fusion summon for the rest of the turn except you cannot special summon from the extra deck for the rest of the turn except fusion monsters. Oh, I cannot read. Even if this card leaves the field, that's very annoying. You can only use this effect of Fluffle Angel once per turn. Oh yeah, I'm just raring to use that ability. Monster effect, you contribute this card, target 1 Frightfur fusion monster in your graveyard, discard 1 card, and if you do special summon the targeted monster, you can only use the effect of Fluffle Angel once per turn. But yeah, no, I really don't have much to say about this. It's just a bad card. It's a pendulum monster, so it's a loser. Its pendulum effect is basically just Sheep's effect, which I'll get onto it later. But worse. And the monster effect is just a Frightfur Reborn, which is already a worse monster reborn. So, yeah, no, you could probably play Servant of Endymion, and it will do about the same thing, which is nothing at all. Yeah, no, don't run it. Don't run it. It's very bad. But yeah, no. Speak of the devil, next we have sheep. So fluffle sheep. Its effect reads: if you control a fluffle monster, except fluffle sheep, you can special summon this card from your hand. You can return one other fluffle monster you control to the hand. Special summon one edge monster from your graveyard, hand or graveyard. You can only use this effect of fluffle sheep once per turn. So you can special summon as many times as you want. But it can't bounce itself, which makes sense. Because yeah, no, that'd just be too broken. But yeah, no. This is just a better version of Angel because you can bounce another one to your hand instead of having to discard. So you can bounce things like dog back to your hand, so you can use it again next turn. Or you can bounce other things, and so you won't lose any advantage because you're getting. Well, I guess you're technically gaining advantage because you're bouncing it into your hand. Your hand is now bigger, and you're getting something from your graveyard onto the field. It's pretty good, but it's fluffles don't really care about swarming the field with their little monsters. Just the big fusions. You can probably play it at like 1 or 2. But it really helps getting out the link 2s. But yeah, no. Next we have the man, the myth, the pack filler, Fluffle Octopus. When this card is normal or special summon, you can target one Fluffle or Edge monster in your graveyard. Add it to your hand. If this card is sent to the graveyard as a fusion material for a fusion summon, you can summon a frightfur fusion monster. You can target up to 2 of your banished monsters, return them to the graveyard. You can only use each effect of Fluffle Octopus once per turn. Yeah, because you can activate. Yeah, no, this is a really bad card. And it's a secret rare as well, Infusion of Forces. So, like, if you pulled this, this could have been a Macabre or a Meltdown or an Invocation. But no, it's a Fluffle Octopus. Its first effect doesn't help at all. It's horrible. And, it's the effect that it gets when, like, it goes to the grave, it really never comes up. Like, in Fluffles, you do banish cards with wings, especially. You banish 2. So I guess it was sort of made for that. But really, you don't care. And you have to. But yeah, it's basically trying to be Penguin, where, like, it has a special summon effect, but instead of special summoning, it adds to the hand from the grave, which is just worse. And it has the other effect where you get 2 cards. But instead Penguin, you get to draw it and you get to discard, which in Fluffles is pretty good. In this you get it from the banished, and you probably didn't want him anyway. So it's a card probably good for grind game, but with Fluffles you really don't want to go into grind game because things like whale and just the amount of fusions you spam, you really can't afford to go into grind game. So back to the good Fluffle monsters, we have Fluffle Cat. So if this card is sent to the grave as a fusion material for a fusion summon, you can target one polarization in your graveyard, add it to your hand. You can only use the effect of Fluffle Cat once per turn. It's a little bit annoying that it has to target the polarization so they can, like, do something. I'm not sure if DD Core only targets monsters, but yeah, no, it's fine. Like, it's a very simple effect. It's 3 lines, but yeah, no, it really helps you extend on your combos. It's not integral, but it's very useful in the combo that gets you 8k damage plus sending any monster to the grave, and it's an easy rank 8 with Sabertooth and Kraken. It's just a really good card. Yeah, play it at 2. You can probably get away with playing it at 1. There's just a lot of search cards and a lot of draw cards and Fluffles, where even the good cards you really don't need to run that many of. But yeah, so now we also have Fluffle Wings. This is also a pretty good card. Pretty good. This is very good. It lets you draw 2 and search a Fluffle or an Edgem, which is very powerful. So if this card is sent to the grave, you control a toy vendor. So, sorry, if this card is in your graveyard and you control a toy vendor, you can banish this card from your graveyard, then target one Fluffle monster in the graveyard, banish it. So the targeting is the cost. And if you do, draw 1 card. you can send a toy vendor you control to the graveyard, and if you do, draw one card. You can only use this effect of Fluffal Wings once per turn. So you banish the two, it really doesn't matter. Then you get to draw a card, which is pretty good. Destroy the toy vendor, draw another card, and then since the toy vendor was destroyed, you can search. And toy vendor is not a hard once per turn, so you can just keep on popping that card, bring it back with Dolphin, pop it some other way with like Tiger or Whale, and then just get it back and then keep on searching. It's very powerful. This card is just absolutely broken. Definitely play it at 2, just because of how much searching it is. It does get a little bit bricky at 3, but to be completely honest, 3 is fine, just because of how good it is. So yeah, for the next 3, I'll just sort of speedrun them. None of them are really good, and they're not really interesting either. So there's Fluffal Rabbit. If this card is sent from the graveyard, sent to the graveyard as a fusion material for a fusion summon, you can target one Edgem Sabers or one Fluffal monster in the graveyard, except Fluffal Rabbit. Add it to your hand. You can only use the effect of Fluffal Rabbit once per turn. It's kind of like Cat, but worse. Mouse. During your main phase, you can target up to 2 copies of Fluffal Mouse in your deck. This effect can only be used once while this card is face up on the field. You cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck the turn you activate this, except for frightfur monsters. You really don't care about swarming the field with this deck, and just Dog's a much better summon. Search, because you can add things like Penguin, and you can add things like Bear, which will... Have I gone over Bear yet? Yes, I have. No. Yes, I have. Okay, so... Oh, this is becoming very long. So yeah, no, then there's Fluffal. There's Patchwork. I think it's called. It's called Fluffal Patchwork. Yeah, it's called Patchwork Fluffal. This card can also be treated as a frightfur monster while it's face up on the field. This card on the field can be used as a substitute for any one fusion material whose name is specifically listed on a frightfur fusion monster, but other fusion materials must be correct. But yeah, no, not much to say about these, just don't run them, they're really bad. But yeah, no, moving on to the Edgems. There are a total of 7 Edgems. 3 are good, and the other 4 are bad. I recommend playing around 6 Edgems in your deck, because with the Fluffals you can play a lot of them, because they can combo into like drawing cards and searching cards, where the Edgems are literally just there to be Edgems. So yeah, first we have Edgem Chain. When this card declares an attack, you can add 1 Edgem Chain from your deck to your hand. If this card is sent from the hand or field to the grave, you can add 1 Frightfur card from your deck to your hand. You can only use this effective Edgem Chain once per turn, and you can only use 1 Edgem Chain effect per turn. The first effect doesn't mean anything, but the second effect is absolutely broken. It can search you combo extenders like Patchwork and Factory, and it can also search you Frightfur Fusion, which is just a good comeback, or, I mean, Extender, or OTK Enabler. I mean, Frightfur Fusion's basically everything. But yeah, no, I'd run it at 2. I run it at 2 personally. But yeah, no, next we have Edgem Sabers. If this card is in your graveyard, you can place 1 card from your hand or top of the deck to the graveyard, to the top of the deck. Special summon this card in defense position. You can only use this effect of Edgem Sabers once per turn. While its effect is okay, but it's not too good in Fluffals, as it is in other decks. It's still vital to go to fusions like Tiger, which really have good effects, because some cards like Tiger, which is a very good Frightfur Fusion monster, you must use Frightfur Edgem Sabers. But yeah, at most, run it at 2. I personally run it at 1. But next we have Scythe. During your opponent's main phase, quick effect, you can reveal this card in your hand, fusion summon 1 Frightfur fusion monster from your extra deck using monsters from your hand or field as fusion materials, including this card in your hand. If a Frightfur fusion monster you control would be destroyed by battle or card effect, you can banish this card from your graveyard instead. You can only use this effect of Edgem Scythe once per turn. Each effect. So, oh god, like, what doesn't this card do, apart from, like, blow you and win you the lottery? It's just, like, it's exactly what Fluffals need. It's a great counter to things like Numeron Network, because it can destroy it, and if you destroy his ult, Their combo doesn't, Infinite Noble Knight combos don't end there, but like it severely slows them down. It also triggers cards like Penguin. So you get to draw. So if you're going second, then you get to draw on your opponent's turn, which is always good. And then you'll have the Penguin saved or you'll be able to activate another Penguin. It's very it's very powerful in that way. You do want to keep it to a minimum. With the edgems, because like 6 is a good number. So like you have to decide whether to run 2 sabers or whether to run 3 scythe. Always run 2 chain, always. Yeah, no. I personally run it at 3, because I just have really bad luck in searching it, in drawing it, and the only way to search it is by frightfur patchwork, and usually I'm using frightfur patchwork to search frightfur chain. So yeah, next we have Colin Eater. Yay, it's another pendulum monster. Pendulum effect, all fusion monsters you control gain 300 attack once per turn. If a frightfur fusion monster is fusion summoned to the field except during the damage step, you can draw 1 card. That's a pendulum effect, by the way. The monster effect, if this is special summon, you can inflict 200 points of damage to your opponent. Oh, jeez. For each frightfur monster in your graveyard, you can only use this effect of Edgem Cotton Eater once per turn. Absolutely horrible. Frightfur Lloyd. This card is always treated as a frightfur card. You can target 1 frightfur fusion monster you control or in the grave. This card's attack and defense each become equal to the attack and defense of the monster until in the turn. You can only use the effect of Edgem Frightfur Lloyd once per turn. Edgem Tomahawk. You can send 1 Edgem monster from your hand to the grave and inflict 800 points of damage to your opponent. You can send 1 Edgem monster from your deck to the grave, except Edgem Tomahawk. This card name becomes the sent monster's name until the end phase. You can only use the effective Edgem Tomahawk once per turn. And Saw. Edgem Saw. When this card is normal summon, you can send 1 fluffal monster from your hand to the grave, draw 2 cards, then place 1 from either the top or bottom of your deck. You can only use the effect of Edgem Saw once per turn. I mean, that's alright. You have to normal summon it. You can't special summon it. You have to normal summon it. But yeah, no, they're all bad. Play none of them. They all suck. So yeah, no, it's Fright for Time. It's the big fusion monsters. They go raw, and you know they're little cuddly animals, and they got the scissors in them. So yeah, first we have Fright for Nightmare. So this is a very new addition to the frightfurs. It has 2000 attack, and it requires 1 Edgem monster plus 2 fluffal monsters. It gains 300 attack for every fairy and fiend in your graveyard during your turn only, which is kind of stupid, kind of like Ametile. And when this fusion summon card destroys a monster by battle, you can send Frightfur, Fluffle, or Edgem monsters from your deck to the grave to the graveyard, each to the original level of the destroyed monster. When your opponent activates a card or effect that targets this card on the field, quick effect, you can banish 1 Frightfur from the extra deck, negate the effect. It's just a cool 1-punch card to get out. It can out things like Ulti Falcon and Mega Clops, but it's not bad, I guess, but things like Whale can just sort of do what it does better. I mean, it's kind of cool to like summon your boy out. He's just got like 10,000 attack and go womp. But yeah, no. Things like Ulti Falcon can just be added by Whale, and things like Mega Clops can be added by Dengisu. There are a lot of level 8s that you can just summon. But yeah, next we have Fright for a Whale, and it's a level 9! Oh, do you know what that means? Yeah, you do. So, 1 Edge monster plus 1 Fluffle monster. If this card is fusion summon, you can destroy 1 card in both players' field without targeting. Once per turn, quick effect, you can target 1 fusion monster you control, send 1 Frightfur card from your deck or extra deck to the grave, except Frightfur Cruel Whale. And if you do, the targeted monster gains attack equal to half the original attack until the end of the turn. So this is a really cool card for a lot of things. So the first effect, This is usually what you summon with Scythe on the opponent's turn, because, you know, if you summon it, it's a summon on summon effect, so it can activate on the opponent's turn. You can target itself, not target, will destroy itself and destroy an opponent's card, then just protect it with Scythe. And if you go second, you can pop your own things like Toy Vendor to generate more advantage, or make it destroy a Sabertooth that has 3 materials, and Sabertooth with 3 materials can't be destroyed, and can't be targeted, but since this doesn't target, it tries to destroy Sabertooth. Sabertooth just protects itself, and then you get to destroy the opponent's monster for free, and don't worry, I've checked on this in, like, simulators, that's how it works. So yeah, off the top of my head, it's a very simple combo that, like, I can think of right now. So if you have a Fluffal and a Poly, and specifically Edge Chain, but that doesn't really matter, there are many ways to get Edge Chain to your hand. You can use Poly to fuse the Edge Chain and the Fluffal to make Whale, and then Chain will activate, getting you the Frightfur Fusion to your hand, then use Frightfur Fusion to banish the materials in the grave, to summon another Whale, and boom, 2 level 9s, True King of all Calamities, easy peasy. But yeah, run at 2 at a minimum, and even if you're not using True King, this card is just an all-around good card. Okay, wow, this is a really long video. I think I'm just gonna read through the 3 more other good frightfurs. So there's Frightfur Sabertooth. 1 Frightfur fusion monster plus 1 or more Fluffal or non-edge monsters. When this card is fusion summoned, you can target 1 Frightfur monster in your graveyard, special summon it. All Frightfur monsters you control gain 400 attack. If this card was fusion summoned using 3 or more fusion materials, it cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects, and it cannot be... Oh, wait, no, so it can be targeted. Okay, I didn't know that. Huh, that's cool. I've been wrong my entire life. So, yeah, no, this card is just absolutely amazing. It's my wife. It can cure cancer. It can, like, repair my gambling addiction. It can repair, like... It can repair everything. It gives all Fluffals... Like, it repairs Fluffals. It fixes Fluffals. It gives it OTK potential. It gives Fluffals comeback potential. It's a level 8, so you can summon back other level 8 Frightfurs. Another really good one is Frightfur Kraken, which I'll get into next. And so that can make things like Dingisu, and Dingisu can out things like Dragoon, which is very good. But yeah, it's just absolutely amazing. Definitely you want to run it at 3. Yeah, no, next we have Kraken. So so 1 Edge monster plus 1 Fluffal monster. Once per turn, you can target 1 monster your opponent controls, send it to the graveyard. This card cannot attack directly the turn this effect is activated. This card can make a second attack during each battle phase. Once per turn, at the end of the battle phase, if this card is battled, you can change it to defense position. So, but yeah, so you know how, like, when you see, like, 2 cards and they just work so incredibly well together? Like, they don't say each other's name, but they just work so incredibly well together. You can't help but think that Konami intentionally, like, made this combo when they were designing the cards. Well, like, this is one, because Kraken and Sabertooth, when Kraken is used for a fusion summon, and it uses its effect, so it can't attack directly, when it's sent to the grave, like all monsters, it's treated as a different Kraken. And so Sabertooth can summon it back, and with the attack boost that Sabertooth gives Kraken can attack twice. It adds up to exactly 8,000 attack, because Kraken's usually 2/2, then plus 400, it's 2/6, then it becomes 5/2, 5/2, plus the 2/8 that Sabertooth now has, equals 8,000. It's just so incredibly insane, and, like, I mean, it could just be, like, a coincidence, but I don't think so.
Coincidence? I think not!
But yeah, run at 2 at the very minimum. You can run 3, doesn't really matter. And finally, yeah, I'm probably gonna end it here. Finally, we have Tiger. Edge Sabers plus 1 or more Fluffal monsters. When this card is fusion summoned, you can target cards target cards on the field up to the number of fusion materials used for its fusion summon. Destroy them all. All Frightfur monsters you control gain 300 attack for each Fluffal monster and Frightfur monster you control. you can only use the effect of Frightfur Tiger. You can only control one Frightfur Tiger. So, wait, is it not once per turn? Okay, so it's not even once per turn. So you can summon multiple tigers, just in case they protect themselves. You can just summon another. So if you couldn't already tell, Fluffals have a lot of search power. They have a lot of draw power. They can make their hands just absolutely massive and wild, and you can easily pop 5 cards. This guy is just absolutely amazing. You definitely want to run him. He's a no-brainer. He's massive. He's huge. He also has the buff effect. 300 attack doesn't seem like much, but usually you'll have 3 frightfurs, maybe even 4, and then just another random fluffle, and 1500 attack on all your cards, plus the 400 coming from Sabretooth. That's probably on field. That's another 1700 attack. That's getting Whale up to 47. It's just absolutely massive. But yeah, I mean, I guess that's the end of this very long video. But yeah, this is just a competitive build. Oh yeah, actually no, I forgot that I still have the spells and the traps, but I'm just gonna refuse to notice the traps' existence. So first we have Frightfur Fusion. Fusion summon 1 Frightfur Fusion monster from your extra deck by banishing fusion materials listed on it from your field or graveyard. You can only use 1 Frightfur Fusion per turn. You can search this off chain, and has wonderful comeback usage. I run it at 2, but it's probably better and more consistent running it at 1 because it's searchable with chain and you can reload it back into the deck with things like Dolphin. But yeah, no. Next we have Frightfur Patchwork. So add 1 Edge Imp monster and 1 Polarization from your deck to your hand. You can only activate 1 Frightfur Patchwork once per turn. Oh yeah, I should probably just add in here. You definitely want to run 3 Polarization. But yeah. So if you listen to that, you can read. That plussing 1, adding an Edge Imp and a Poly, it's just absolutely broken. Definitely run it at 3. Finally, we have Frightfur Factory. Yeah, no, this is going to be the last one. So, you can banish 1 Polarization spell card or fusion spells. You can banish Frightfur Fusion as well. You can banish Instant Fusion. You can banish Metal Foes Fusion. But you probably want to return that to get the draw. So, spell card from the grave. Except Defusion Wave Motion, which I just find that kind of weird. Fusion summon 1 Frightfur Fusion monster. Using monsters from your extra deck. Wait, it's coming from your extra deck. Using monsters from your hand or side of the field as fusion materials. If this card is sent to the grave, that doesn't matter. You can target 1 of your banished Frightfur or Frightfur Fusion. Add it to your hand. You can only use each effect of Frightfur Factory once per turn. It's pretty powerful. You can banish Poly to Poly again. That's very powerful to just extend your combos. But yeah. So, and I guess Toy Vendor doesn't really fit on here, because it's not technically a Frightfur or a Fluffle or Edge Imp card, but yeah, no. So you know what it does. Well, I'll just tell you what it does now. So once per turn, you can discard 1 card, draw 1 card, show it to the opponent. If it's a Fluffle monster, you can special summon 1 monster. So it can be any 1 monster from your hand. It doesn't have to be a Fluffle. It can be Nibiru for all Toy Vendor cares, as long as you draw a Fluffle. So otherwise, discard it, and if you didn't draw a Fluffle. So if this card is sent to the grave, you can add 1 Edge Imp, Sabers, or 1 Fluffle monster from your deck to your hand. You will notice none of this is hard once per turn. Absolutely broken. Play it at 3 just because the amount of advantage you can get. Not even the discard 1, draw 1, that's sort of just RNG based. But sometimes discarding card like Chain can just draw you, Chain can search you out the Frightfur Patchwork to search the Poly and the Edge Imp. It's just very good. And because Wings is there, Whale is there, just play it at 3. It's very powerful. Yeah, no, that's it. Play Poly at 3 as well. Yeah, no, this will conclude the videos. Fluffals is a fun OTK deck that can play through many hand traps and is very versatile, and it never locks you into Fluffals or fusions, and has a decent spam ability. Um, uh, I mean, yeah, no, that's really all I have to say, I'd really appreciate it if you hit the like button, maybe leave a comment as well. It's pretty exciting to read those. And if you could share my Insta page or this video with your friends, that would be very much appreciated. I really did put a lot of effort into this video. It may not seem like it because of its low production and stuff, but I don't have editors or things. But yeah, I really do hope you enjoyed it, and yeah, stay fresh.